Hmm. All right. Going live, going live, going live. Ooh, where's he here? All right. Now, I'm live streaming on both platforms. I'm on YouTube and this time the microphone's working. So you can go to YouTube and check me out on there. Let's see. Everything seems to be working. Taking people on, getting some people to join. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Let's talk about some stuff. Well, it looks like Disneyland doesn't want us to go there anymore. And the reason I say that is because after their new price increase, they've increased their prices 114% over the last 10 years. That's a lot. But again, that's probably just about what beef has gone up in the last 10 years, as well as chicken, eggs, milk, bread, rent, car payments. Actually, I can tell you for a fact that if you go to the New York Fed, you can look up the average car price in 2000 and it was 22 grand. And now it's just under 50,000. So it's gone up about exactly 114% in the last 10 years. Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, but big and corn fed, that's bullshit. Because that would mean inflation is at 10% annually. Hi, welcome to the real world. More likes attracts more viewers. Keep it up. I don't have any likes yet. Well, that's all right. Okay, so let's talk about some things that matter. First, let's go to the debt clock. Where are we at today? We should be just about 35 trillion 700 billion. Well, 703 billion. But hey, who gives a damn about the 3 billion, right? It's like, come on, $3 billion. It's not that much. I mean, it's too much to send to North Carolina. Fuck those people. But I'm saying that it's a lot. And now our federal debt to GDP ratio is 124%. Now, I know you're thinking, wait a minute, that can't be right, big and corn fed, because no country has ever survived going over 115% debt to GDP ratio, except Japan. Yeah, that's right. Except we are sneaky. See, we're smart. We don't say that we've gone up to 35 trillion 703 billion without doing a little figuring. So figures never lie, but liars always figure. So what did they figure? Well, they figured if they left out the unfunded liabilities. Now, for those of you who don't know, obviously debt is an unfunded liability. That's what that is. So what's the real number? If you factor in all of the debt that the United States has, all of the debt that the federal government has, well, let's see. Now they have, U.S. total national debts, $216 trillion, 216 trillion, 298 billion. Yeah, that's a fucking shocker, isn't it? Because we're always complaining about 35 trillion. Oh my God, we got 35 trillion in debt. No, we don't. 35 trillion 700 billion. Man, that is nothing. What have we really got in debt? We really have. Let's see. Let's see here. Let me. Well, actually, the way they break it down here, they say that it's only 102 trillion right now, which is that's about $75,000 per citizen. So if you want to pay off your $75,000 and get out of debt, go for it. But the problem is that the top 1% of the people in this country have $18,880,000 average. The bottom 50% have $37,000. I believe that's what we call a disparity, but that's okay. And the reason I say it's okay is because I'm in the silver business. So I'm literally saying, okay, well, you know what? I didn't start the fire, but it's burning. And the only thing I can do is try to help you guys make money on it and try to save your asses. And that's exactly what silver will do. And real estate will not. So, good evening. I was a little bit late to the party tonight because I had to eat a big chunk of pizza. And it didn't get here on time. It was late. Therefore, it wasn't that hot. But you know what pizza is like? I can't use that analogy on TikTok. I will get kicked off. I will be censored for saying that, what pizza is like. Because even when it's not great, it's still pretty good. You can fill in the blanks. All right, so let's see here. Cost of college tuition in 2000 was $10,000. Cost of healthcare was $5,000. By the way, now it's $15,000 per person, average. Let's see, we had median home price was $167,000. Now it's over $400,000. Median income was $32,000, and that's gone all the way up to $39,000. Are you starting to see the problem here? You starting to pick up what I'm laying down? That's the biggest issue right there. The average worker in this country has made an extra $7,000. What is that? 12% over 25 years now. But the average home has gone from 167 to 402. The average new car has gone from 22,000 to 49,000. College education has more than doubled, depending on where you go, of course. If it's all colleges sort of, averaged out. Let's see, government employees. We have 25 million people in government now. Wow, that's a lot. That's almost 20%. Well, that's right at 20% of our total, which is private sector jobs, 127 million. So we're teetering on the edge. No government has ever not collapsed if they have more than 15% government workers. No government has ever survived 124% debt to GDP ratio, except Japan. They've been languishing in 200% now for many, many years. But the Japanese are very different. It's an incredibly different culture. I used to live there, and the way that the people act there is nothing like the United States at all. There are very, very few similarities. So, what does it mean? What add all this up? It means that we are about to go into a recession that could ultimately be a depression, hyperinflationary depression, but probably not. And I'm going to still say probably. I posted a video today where I was ranting and raving about the inflation and how they were saying that inflation didn't exist. And then they had just come out and said that it was slight but transitory. I made that video back in 2021, and I posted it on my YouTube channel because I wanted people to see that, look, this is not fucking rocket surgery. I figured out the economy a long time ago, and I knew that they were lying. They being the Federal Reserve and the Treasury, because they believe that if you're happy and you think everything's okay, it's going to be okay. What? That's idiotic, but that's what they believe. So based on that information, their job is to try to make you happy. Well, but what if what they're saying isn't true? No, that doesn't matter. Their job is to make you happy so that we won't go into a recession. Like the last one, when John McCain so famously said, this recession is basically a recession of the mind. It's people just being lazy. That cost him the election for sure. I remember watching that statement and thinking to myself, my God, that guy just committed suicide politically. Like, you can't say that. You can't blame the American people for something that the central bank engineers every 8 to 10 years. People don't understand. Inflation doesn't exist in the real world. They talk about, well, healthy inflation is 2%. You know why they call it healthy? Because that's what they can steal from you without you complaining too much. What should real inflation be? 0. It was 1% for the first 300 years. If recession, will people still get retirement payments? Depends on how bad the recession is. If you are a federal or state worker, probably. If you're a municipal, county, or private industry worker, probably not. That was when he picked up his VP. McCain was buried in a wrinkled flag. Don't know what that means exactly, but you are very right. You're a very smart man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, that's why I'm here, is to help educate people about this, because this is what I do for a living. Look, when it comes to laying bricks, I don't know shit. When it comes to plumbing, all I know is poop rolls downhill. Electricity hurts. So if you said build a house, I'd be like, shed? Yeah, we got this. House? No, I have no fucking clue. I can lay cement. That's about it, And I can paint. I was a house painter when I first got out of the Marine Corps. Okay. So there are certain things that you guys are way better at. Engineering. I don't know shit about engineering, but I know this. If somebody's out there that is a great engineer, they don't have time to do what I do, because I study the markets and what's going on behind the scenes as much as they studied engineering to become an engineer. That's what it boils down to. I have the luxury of spending all of my time researching shit that you guys don't have the time to research. That's all. It's just a matter of what you do to make a living and what I do to make a living are different. And what I do to make a living is try to help you through what we're about to go through. Well, what we're going through now. But I don't, we haven't hit the worst of this yet. Senior was buried with a wrinkled flag, sign of a traitor. I did not know that. How are you doing? And how did, I saw that. You sell silver too? Yes, absolutely. That's what I do. Well, that's the reason. Okay, so let me explain something. I don't sell silver because I've always been a silver bullion dealer. And then I got lucky because the economy started to look really, really bad. The economy started to look bad. And because my, you could call it arrogance if you want, is that I don't have to sell a product. I don't have to have a company that doesn't help people. I literally told myself this 30 years ago. I said to myself, if I'm so fucking smart, I should be able to make a very good living and help other people at the same time. And if I can do that, then I could sleep well at night. Yeah, I make a ton of money, but that's okay because I'm making you a ton of money too. So it's win-win. Not, well, yeah, you bought that product from me and it's not very good, but hey, I made a lot of money. No, I would never put myself in that situation. Should have bought more at $20. Yes, you should have. Well, bullion, you can get bullion coins. Here, I'll show you what a bullion coin looks like. Let me put my nerd glasses back on. Now, coins, a coin is something coined by the government. So a coin is government issued. A silver round looks like this. And God, they're so damn shiny, you can hardly see them because of the light. Most reflective metal in the world. And therefore, it's kind of hard to show on camera. But basically, this is a bullion round. It has, it's got 999 fine, 1 troy ounce, fine silver. You flip it over, and it says prospector. Oh, that means I know what this is. This is a Silvertown. Silvertown's an outstanding mint and refinery, and they coin a lot of their own stuff. Now, this is something that would be considered bullion, a bullion bar. Now, I don't recommend tons of these because if silver goes to $150 an ounce, and if there is some cyber attack or issue with the grid temporarily, if you're in a position where your area is down, this could be worth $1,500. Well, you can't walk into a store and hand this to the owner of the store and say, "Hey, I just want to get some groceries." You better want a lot of groceries. Whereas with this, it's, $33-$34 right now to buy one, but it could be worth $60 or $80 shortly, and it will be. The question is, can you buy stuff with that? Yes, absolutely. Now, these little bad boys right here, these are tiny suckers. These are 1 gram each. This is $1. That's what it's worth on today's market, just over $1. Now, by the way, if this were made of gold, it would be over $100. That's why I don't tell everybody to buy gold. Yeah, financial products, and that's the thing, Richard. You've got a huge head start because the economy, as you know, the economy and the stock market don't necessarily follow each other in terms of micro management, but from a macro standpoint, you can't have as bad an economy as we do without it eventually pulling the market down, unless you create hyperinflation. If you create hyperinflation, you create a melt up where assets skyrocket in price, including the stock market. Venezuela, they were at about 10,000, and a year later they were at 65,000 because they had massive inflation there. Just recently, home prices went from $60,000 for a beautiful home to 700,000, and it's like overnight, which of course destroys the working class and the poor, and the working poor. They're completely priced out of the market horribly. What about buying other exotic metals? It really depends on what you're talking about. And yes, there is a time and a place for that. But my guy who studies econ will tell you that if it's not a precious metal, if it's not gold or silver, then it becomes more of an industrial or strategic metal. And that means that the economy does play a huge role, a huge role. I'll give you an example. The car market is absolutely failing right now, failing miserably. Jeep just declared that they're going bankrupt. There will be no more Jeep next year. Dodge is talking about bankruptcy, and the Dodge family, the original owners, are actually in talks to try to buy it back because it's doing so poorly. This is Dodge. This was like everybody wanted a Dodge Challenger, a Dodge Charger with a Hemi and all this stuff. Well, at this point, and yes, copper at times, because copper is monetary, but it's also an industrial metal. So you could have it go up in monetary value and down because the industrial usage goes down. So that you got to be careful of that. With gold and silver, silver's money in 72 different languages, literally the same word for money and silver, 72 different languages. So it is money, and nobody misunderstands that fact anywhere in the world. There were 1 billion ounces being produced. Now it's down to 792 million ounces. China just went on some unbelievable buying spree for silver. They went from the number 2 exporter of silver in the world to not exporting an ounce of it. Now they've gone from that to actually importing everything that they can buy in South America in the form of slurry and unrefined silver, because they don't have to report how many ounces they're buying, because nobody knows what it'll turn out to be once it's refined. So they refine it down to 999 themselves at home, and they are not telling anybody what their reserves are or why they're hoarding silver worldwide. The LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association, which is where everybody keeps their gold and silver. And here's the reason. Let's say you're in Dubai and I'm in Australia, and you say, "Hey, I want to buy some gold." Great. Here's my gold. I show you that I have the gold. It's in the LBMA. You pay me for the gold. Great. Now it's your gold. You keep it in the LBMA. And that way, when all of a sudden Saudi Arabia, who just secretly bought 166 tons of gold, they tried to do it secretly, but they got caught, which it's not illegal. It's just they didn't want people to know that a country that has so much oil is actually trying to back their currency with gold. That's scary. The BRICS are going to destroy the dollar. No question in my mind about that. There is no question. Now, will it happen tomorrow? No. Next year? No. In the next 5 years, we'll start to feel it. In the next 10 years, absolutely. Absolutely. China is buying gold. They bought 130 tons of gold by June. They're buying every ounce of silver they can get their hands on. The LBMA, which usually has billions and billions of ounces of silver in the vault for sale. Now they have, who knows, 100 billion ounces in the vaults, but they have maybe 7 to 10 billion that are for sale. They're available for purchase. Right now they've got 300 million ounces. They are out. That's incredibly low. So, no, the food industry can't fail. Look, man, we got to eat. Brothers got to eat. So we will never see the industry fail as far as, is it a feasible industry? Yeah, it has to be. As long as we are no longer an agrarian society. 105 years ago, 97% of the people in the United States had some type of agriculture in their life, whether they had a garden or whatever. Now, 97% of people in the United States have absolutely zero contact with agriculture in any way. They just go to the store and buy it. They have no idea how to make it, how to grow it, how to do anything. No, fast food chains are going to start suffering because their prices are just ridiculous. I mean, if I take my son to Chipotle and it's $40, what? $40? That's insane. The U.S. hasn't found new oil in 20 years. Alaska doesn't have shit. Well, that's odd. There's 500 ounces in a monster box. St. Mark, are you familiar with Prudhoe Bay? Because Prudhoe Bay has about 100-year supply for the United States. There's no such thing as peak oil. That was bullshit. That was just another marketing scam to raise the price of oil. There is so much oil everywhere in the world. It's absolutely idiotic. We are not running out of oil in the next 500 years. Well, actually, the Prudhoe Bay is the largest of all of them, but they have many that are smaller, that are pumping like crazy. Even small guys are ending up spending $4 at Chipotle these days. Yeah, everybody. Exactly. I'm going the Philippines, much cheaper. Not a bad plan. Let's see. Show me, because I am an oil man and I see it. Well, one of my clients who is a driller, and he's in Oklahoma. I asked him once after a few drinks, I said, tell me about this peak oil. What is that about? And he laughed and he said, man, we got 100-year supply of oil in Oklahoma. I said, what do you mean? He goes, that's just Oklahoma. He goes, you start adding it up and we have an enormous amount of oil in Texas, in North Dakota, in the shale, everywhere. He said, there's so much oil, even in Pennsylvania still after 120 years of drilling it. How does he know he's a driller? Well, I mean, that's what he does, is oil exploration. That's how he got billions of dollars. Just purchased auto-renewed subscription for subscribing. Mike Wilson for subscribing. I have no idea what you guys are subscribing to or why. How many barrels and what's the U.S. consumption alone? Well, that's a good question. I don't know. There's ice in Alaska. Yeah, it makes you wonder, since the Japanese pay so much for glacial water, why they don't just break off part of the glacier and tow it over to Japan. I'm sure there'd be plenty left by the time they got there. It was actually an idea that was, pardon the pun, floated back in the 90s. Let's see. Well, it'd be tough to find out. Oh, they're starting to censor you guys. Let's see. Okay, hold on. The oil companies don't want Trump in office. That got censored. Oil is never depleted. It's continually being generated underground. That got censored also. Huh. Is technology taking over manufacturing more than extraction? Is technology taking over manufacturing more than extraction? I'm not really sure I understand the question. I mean, technology plays a role in both, obviously. In terms of extraction, I'm sure AI will help us find a lot of stuff that we haven't even thought about. It would be radioactive in Japan. Good point. If oil was so plentiful, why is it so high? Wait a minute. You said you were an oil man. You know the answer to that question. Why are diamonds so expensive? Because the De Beers company put $6 billion of them a year in a vault and won't let anybody buy them in order to make them scarce. It's called scarcity. And that is exactly why it is. Say we're running out of oil then to make us pay more for it. That's literally what it is. The reason that we pay $70 a barrel for oil right now is because cartels in the United States are completely and utterly illegal. If all the car companies decided to have an agreement amongst themselves and they would set the prices of cars and nobody else could have any say in it, that would be instantly that would be illegal. I mean, that would be antitrust. So why is OPEC allowed to exist? It is literally a self-described cartel of oil-producing nations who set the prices. How's that a free market? Well, it's not. So why do we let them do it? Well, because all of the money from Saudi Arabia was coming to the United States. So the higher oil prices literally mean more money for the bankers in the United States. What do you... OPEC isn't under U.S. control. You don't study military much, do you, Mark? Because I can tell you for a fact, the Middle East is very much under U.S. control, and it has been for a long time. Saudi Arabia is finally now starting to show a little bit of independence, going with the BRICS currencies, etc. But for 50 years, we owned them. Lock, stock, and barrel. That's why they used the American dollar, because we went over there during the embargo and said, look, guys, got a lot of money sitting under the ground. Somebody's going to come take it from you, unless, of course, we protect you. And they said, okay, we'll use your currency. You protect us. That's it. FMF. Oh, okay. I was going to say FMF, and I realized Fleet Marine Force. Is lithium the new oil? No, because we don't need as much. What's happening, heathen? No, we don't need as much lithium as we need oil. We still need a lot of oil. Full access to our goods and dollars or coupons. Yeah, I mean, the reality is this. They just finally told us to kiss off last year. I saw it with my own eyes. Yes, they are definitely coming to an end. I watched Mohammed bin Salman shake hands with Xi Jinping and say, and I remember the quote very well, that Saudi Arabia now sees China as their number one priority, not just now, but for the next 50 years. Now, why did he say 50 years? That's a long time, because they had a 50-year agreement with us, and it just ended. Because they can't manipulate gold and silver the way that they're manipulating oil. It has a value, and that value doesn't go away. You can't burn up gold and silver. You can lie all you want about oil and how much there is or how little there is, but gold is what it is. We know how much it takes to get it out of the ground. We know what the costs are. We know what the cost and the time to open a mine. Just to get 1 ounce of silver out of the ground takes 10 years. That's to get your first ounce. BRICS is going to be bullion backed. Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, look, with 166 tons going to Saudi Arabia, with 830 tons total being purchased around the world in the last year, that's the most on record. I mean, that is by far the most on record. Man-made gold, a lot cheaper. Huh. Well, it's going to be very interesting. They just St. Mark, they knocked you out there with that comment. Largest oil reserves in Russia, Venezuela and Russia. Well, I agree with half of that statement. Venezuela. Russia's a bitch. They don't know how to keep their pipelines running without our help. Chevron went in and built all that shit for them. And if one of those pipelines, God forbid, ever comes to a stop for even one day and freezes, that's it. Oh, you were talking about Venezuela and Russia. They actually censored that comment. I live in the Arctic Circle Game Refuge. I have gold mining claim 300 miles away. I fly daily. That's badass. That is outstanding. That's really cool. I just bought a gold panning kit. I already have a pretty kick-ass metal detector, which I've actually never used. And I told my son, look, anything you find, you can keep. He's very excited about that. Since we live in Arizona and there are 4 gold mines within a mile of my house, half a mile of my house, there are 4 old gold mines. They're everywhere around here. Well, they're not real fond of the truth. Yes, he friended me again. I have Mine Lab metal detector. I think that might be what mine is. It's a good one. Does it? No, it detects gold, silver, zinc, all kinds of shit. And I walk 150 feet to pan. That is cool. But do you find anything, Betty? That's the key. You walk 150 feet to pan, but if you're just panning for rocks, well, shit, that doesn't do any good. Another civil war possible. I'm going to say almost probable at this point. I think that it's actually very, very, well, here's the thing. Based on the numbers alone, and this is, and I'm going to quote Elon Musk so that I don't get not kicked off of here for misinformation. So what Elon Musk said was, if Kamala Harris gets into office, this will be the last election. And I thought, well, it's a pretty hardcore thing to say. But what he meant was that it will be the last true election. And the reason for that is, if you bring 18 million people into the United States that are illegal immigrants and make sure that they understand that the Democrats are the ones that did it and they're the ones who feed them with our tax money, et cetera, and then you put them almost exclusively in swing states where 20,000 votes makes a huge difference, and you put 700 times that number in each one of those swing states, you basically flood swing states with Democrats, which means you have fixed the voting for Democrats in swing states for at least 50 years. Well, how long does it take for somebody to get their citizenship? I know people have been trying for 10 years. Here's the problem. If you are here as an asylum seeker, you are fast-tracked, which means you can get your citizenship in 5 years. Well, guess what? It's going to be about 5 years before there's another election, 4.5 years before there's another election. And all of those people that have come in the last 3.5 years will all be citizens by then. And regardless of what the rules say, they'll be allowed to legally vote, won't they? And who are they going to vote for? This will be the last election. That's the problem, is that this was not done on accident. This was done very specifically on purpose. This is like gerrymandering on a scale that is almost unfathomable. Yeah, well, a world war would keep us from a civil war. That's a fact. But, that's no, it's not paranoid, man. I'm just telling you what the numbers are. Like, we all know what the numbers are. There's nothing to argue about. There's between 10 and 18 million people that came here that said they were asylum seekers. They were flown in on airplanes secretly. 300,000 of them a year were flown in by the government because they used an app to file and jumped on an airplane and flew here. Well, where did they go? Once they got here, where did they go? Well, they were sent to different places. Sent to where? Swing states. It's just part of the numbers. Look at the numbers. It's not like this is a conspiracy theory. So what do we know about these immigrants? We know that they are given all kinds. They were not. They weren't, huh? Interesting. They flew here on magic carpets. I said 300,000 of them, not 18 million. There are 18 million people in this country who should not be here because they're all claiming asylum. Asylum? Really? 18 million of them? That's a lot of asylum, baby. Yep. Let's see. Not to support them with tax money. Oh, believe me, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Haven't voted since I got back from the Vietnam War. They censored that, by the way. They censored that statement. We're sent to Springfield, Ohio. Yeah, well, I mean, some, but again, why Springfield? Why Ohio? What's the deal with that district? Look it up. Immigration statistic gone up, and has the illegal immigration statistically gone up in Biden's regime? I'm not sure if you're being serious or you're just joking. Open borders for the last 3.5 years, it's gone up by something along the figure of 10 million people. I mean, that's according to the government. We found out that of the 300,000 people that flew over here and didn't even have to cross the border illegally, they just came here as asylum seekers, were dropped off. We found out that one of the reasons that that program ended was they actually went and looked and found out that 28,000 of those people gave the exact same address as their home address now that they were going to be in the United States. What? That's a big fucking house. But again, this is, none of this stuff is hidden. That's the point. 54 million, who knows? I mean, that's the problem. We don't know the answer to that because the reality is that, look, it's just crazy. You ever run for president, you'll definitely get mine. Thank you. I appreciate that. Not that I would want that job, but you know what? That's the kind of person you need. You need somebody who doesn't want the job. So let's do the math here. If each one of those people costs the government, this is what we do know. We do know that the government has spent $650 billion. That's a number that we got from the government that shows that we spent $650 billion on illegal immigrants. Well, I'm sure St. Mark will appreciate this. Since I was a Marine and he was a corpsman, which is like a Marine but crazier, much crazier actually. That's more than we spend on the Marine Corps. A lot more. We have too many quacks in the White House. Well, that's what it is. 12, 14 hours a day. I'd love to learn to invest, but heck, I'm already 49. See, that's the game right there. What he's saying, that's how they keep you down, because you have to work so hard just to pay your rent. Are they still legal if they came to seek asylum? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the question is, I will say that it's definitely the equivalent of a couple of Marines. Corpsmen, by the way, are the guys who go into combat, usually unarmed, with nothing but bandages, and they try to fix us up while we're shooting at people. And they are a favorite target of the enemy. Worker bees are what they want. That's exactly it. You're working so hard, you can't keep your head above water, let alone spend 4 hours a night studying this stuff. Well, literally, that's the problem. The government right now is doing what all governments do. Thomas Paine warned us about this in what do you call it? Not a simple truth. I've got it sitting on my bookshelf. Common Sense. He warned us that there is no such thing as good government. There's only the government you can tolerate, but there's no such thing as a good government. How do you handle a silver transaction? Easy. Text me tomorrow. We'll go online. We'll figure out what silver's at, and you send me money, and I send you silver. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And depending on the state you're in, there should not be any tax on that sale. Let's see. Just seen their admission to the abilities to produce hurricane and storms now on TikTok. I'm not buying it, man. I'm not buying it. And the real reason I'm not buying it is because I've seen. Look, I get it. You can seed clouds now with electricity, and it works much better than silver nitrate. Great, but realistically, if you look at the last big hurricane season we had, and then we didn't have any hurricanes for 10 years. I study cosmology and solar science. And what do I know? I know that the last time we had really major hurricanes was a solar maximum. And then we went into solar minimum, and now we're back in a solar maximum again every 11 years. That's how it works. It's so fucking obvious. Well, unfortunately, that's what they're trying to do now. They are literally trying to control what we believe, what we say, what we do. I heard Kamala Harris say in an interview that social media has to be monitored because the reality is we need to make sure that people don't abuse their privilege. That is the scariest thing I've ever heard from a presidential candidate. Do you understand what that means? You understand what that woman said in that interview? Think about what I just said. It's not a privilege, Ron. It's our God-given right. Driving is a privilege. It's our right, according to the Magna Carta and the Constitution. The Magna Carta going all the way back to about 1300. So you have to remember that there are differences between what they're willing to give us and what God has given us, because our right is to self-determination, and they're trying to take that away from us. Well, the AI is trying to figure out like what you can and can't say here, and it does show at the beginning of my TikToks always that basically the people who come on here may be censored for the what was it called, for the how did they word it? It was for our not for our enjoyment, but for the quality of the live stream, and they will have to censor some comments. Now, what's interesting is there is no higher in status than and that's actually a sanitation worker is pretty damn important if you think about it. But it's interesting because what they censor is really odd sometimes. Yeah. Well, this is the hallmark of a dying civilization, is when we start focusing on internal strife and internal politics and internal turmoil instead of doing what we should be doing, which is simply protecting ourselves from the outside. We are now a house divided. That's exactly right, for the good of the community. And so they censor, and I'll see them all the time. But the odd thing is, it'll be something like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing tonight?" And it's censored. And then if they type it again and send it, it won't be censored. I like driving as a right, and I'll tell you what, do we have the right to clean air and clean water? Is that a privilege? Or is it a God-given right? Cherry just got censored. Driving is not a privilege. It is a right. God-given right to travel unimpeded. Woo, boy, Cherry, they censored the shit out of that. No, actually, my grandfather's a 32nd degree Freemason, and a good friend of mine who is very high up in the Masons said he would be more than happy to sponsor me. Well, that's pretty cool. I've always been very curious about the Masons because I know that basically the Templars. Let's go back. I think Kamala will get more votes than Joe did this time. Who knows? We won't know the truth of that. Ministry that hit nail on the head. Van Ampe. Yeah, that's right. I remember something about that guy. I think water is definitely a right. Well, the drinkable water, do you mean why do you mean God-given right? Because the government doesn't favor a specific religion. No, I understand that, but we all believe that there is a creator. We just don't want to name him officially in our government. But, and if you don't believe in a creator, that's fine. Then the universe gave you the right to self-determination, and no one can own you except you. But remember, before the Magna Carta, you were allowed to be owned by another human. It was Job's daughter. Your grandpa was a Mason. Like my dad. That's very cool. 88 in California while serving. Mentioned Joe votes. Yeah. No, it didn't get censored this time. That's funny. The Constitution puts the people above the government and specifies rights as natural. Yeah, then that's true. Why is Bitcoin so resilient? Because it is decentralized. Look, if you believe in a piece of paper, if you believe in this crap right here, what's this? What's this backed by? Some asshole in Washington, D.C. who lies to us constantly? Okay, well, what's Bitcoin backed by? A bunch of fucking cyber punks and hackers who decided they were pissed off at governments and didn't want anybody to control their money. Okay, fuck it, I'll go with them. I'd rather have a cyberpunk in charge of my finances. That's it. I don't think crypto will fail in and of itself. Obviously, if the grid goes down, crypto failed. That's it. It's that simple. The rights are in place to keep government from infringement. That sounds nice, doesn't it, Inglewood? I mean, it sounds good. When you say it that way, it's like, ooh, I like it. Try and keep it. That's the problem. Jefferson had a lot of quotes about how we have to keep it. And whenever as a matter of fact, you know what? Story time. Wait, where is my... Well, that's odd. I normally keep it within arm's reach because I read it all the time. Let's see. Very odd. It must be here. No, it's not there. Here. It's not there. Here. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm not feeling it. Oh, you know what? Maybe I give it to my son for him to read a little bit of it. It's my Constitution. And by the way, if you own your own version, your own, not version, but your own copy of the Constitution, that makes you a lunatic, right-wing fringe nutcase. I think that should tell you something right there. Just that fact alone, that you considered a crazy right-winger. But, for those of you who wonder what I'm going to quote, it's obviously the beginning when the Declaration of Independence, when they talk about, basically that it's that when a government is finally proven, when it evinces always to the same, I think the same result, which is basically tyranny, then it's your right, comma, it is your duty to throw off the chains of government and start another one. Think about that for a second. It's your duty. Now, in this day and age, they would call you a lunatic and say all kinds of horrible things about you. But the reality is, this is our government, and they think that we are their people. That's not how it works at all. It is literally people in the federal government have softened our minds to the point where we would rather sit and watch Dancing with the Stars than actually figure out what they're trying to do. That's the problem, is that they have us exactly where they want us. Fat, overworked, tired, slightly diseased. That's it. Ineffectual. That is exactly what you want if you're going to try to take over a nation. You don't want to have to fight people. That's ugly. That gets nasty. And then next thing you know, if you accidentally have to unalive enough people, everybody starts to turn against you. So the easiest way to do it is in little tiny steps, the size of a grain of sand. Old Wooden American. You just got censored on that comment. It shows a little eye with a line through it. Nobody can see that except me. It's crazy, right? Like, why would they censor that? You literally just said size of a grain of sand. How is that not good for the community experience? They work for us. Bad thing is, this generation doesn't do anything. Yeah, if this generation doesn't do anything, it's over. Thank you, boomers, you fuckers. Thanks for falling asleep at the wheel. And Generation X, my guys, yeah, you too. We sat around and bitched about it. We slammed our heads to punk rock over it. And then we said, fuck it. We gave into it. And part of that, no, I didn't. I think they might have censored you too, Jim. The reality is this is what they wanted all along. Download my Bill of Rights songs. I got all 10 of them in there. That's awesome. Let's see. What's your take on Chevron deference? Do we have to follow local codes? That depends. You got a little money you want to spend? You want to start a court case? Because, basically anything that you don't think makes sense, you can challenge now. It's going to be a hell of a lot of work for the federal government. This Chevron deference was an absolute mother. For those of you who don't know, and I know most of you, I get the smartest TikTokers literally on this app. And so I know that you guys know this, but Chevron deference was 1984 case where basically the Supreme Court said, look, any court that doesn't agree with a statute or some new form of regulation has to give deference to the agency who made it, because theoretically those agencies are full of experts and they know better than a judge what is and is not important. So let's say that you have to have a tag to go hunting in the national forest. Okay, well, who came up with that? Well, probably it would have to be Department of Interior, Fish and Wildlife, Fish and Game. Let's see. I didn't even see it. I wasn't looking down. Tell them who Chevron really was. Who Chevron really was? I don't know. Who are you talking about? The Chevron deference? Well, the Chevron deference case I do know about. I'm not sure what you're asking, but basically, at that point, 3-letter agencies, FDA, SEC, just name them. David Rockefeller. Well, that makes sense. So basically what happened was these 3-letter agencies started making rules and regulations. Well, what's a rule and a regulation? Well, it's a suggestion unless you enforce it with the full weight of the federal government. Then it's a de facto law, because if you break it, you will be punished. So who exactly is allowed to make laws under the Constitution? Congress. That's it. Congress makes 150 laws a year. They vote on them, they make them. But what about the fact that over the last 40 years, 60,000 regulations have been passed by 3-letter agencies who are not part of Congress? Oh, that means all of them are basically bullshit, unless they can defend them in a court and they can actually make them make sense. Well, you have to do this. Well, why do I have to do that? Well, because we said so. Nope, done. That regulation is now stricken forever. Well, they're not, technically. Technically, they're not. It says in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5, that only Congress can coin money, and it shall be in the form of gold and silver coinage. Is Hillary better than Kamala? Is strychnine better than cyanide? I don't know. But I can tell you this, I don't want to try either one. Capital Currency, how are you, baby? All right. So let's see. Hillary is a better magician. She makes people disappear. Technically, yes. Let's see. Ron, they censored you, big boy. Let's see. Made sense like changing Trump for getting a loan and paying it back with no injured party. Oh, yeah. Funny how that works. They censored that, by the way. You can retype it and they'll probably put it up next time. Explain why the map behind you is not even with your wall. Because the wall is straight, but the ceiling is going down. It's my office, so the ceiling is slanted. That's why. The map is even. My head is even, but the roof is tilted. Yeah, Ron, watch yourself, pal. You're on the radar now. By the way, I found out that the huge biker fest that's going to be here this weekend in Cave Creek, there's going to be tens of thousands of people in downtown Cave Creek, literally 500 meters from my house on the other side of the hill, thank God. I'll still hear every motorcycle, every drunken ass, and all the live bands. It's going to be pretty loud at my house next week. Problem, of course, is that I did find out that every year, one of our favorite 3-letter agencies sits on top of the hill behind my house with drones and facial recognition software. And they just cruise around all night long, looking at license plates and watching people. That's crazy. That is absolutely scary. Because if it's a big biker jam, that those are mostly, if not 100%, Trump voters. And they will all have their faces and their motorcycle plates and everything in a database by the end of next week. Would you be on this app today if I ask you whether Republican or Democrat? I'm neither. They are afraid. That's true. Put a camera in their face. Are you in a club? No. Like a motorcycle club? Nope. Let's see. And my drone doesn't work anymore. Mavic. Huh. Wait. They're all incapacitated? I didn't know that. Oh, that's not fun. That's very interesting. They literally made them go down on purpose so that, wow. Man, that's nuts. Welcome, Paul. Ron, you got censored again. It says government did, but nobody can see it except me. Sneaky little rats and roaches can't get out. Yeah, see, they didn't censor that. It has C4 in it, like Mission Impossible. What? Now that's just craziness. That is just craziness. By the way, if you're wondering, while we were talking, you can't make this shit up. While we were talking, the federal debt went up by $1 billion. It was $35,703 billion when we started this talk, and now it's $35,704 billion. And we've spent $77 million in the last few minutes. That's your money. A lot more internationals like Trump than a lot of us. Yeah, that's probably true. That's a fact. Especially when people in North Carolina, hey man, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're supposed to be tough redneck Americans. Act like it. That's kind of their attitude. Yeah, pagers or all kinds of stuff. Maybe you just never know. Yeah, well, again, there's certain things you can talk about on TikTok and certain things you better not talk about on TikTok. Let's see. Hey, so is platinum a precious metal too? Saffron, took me a long time to get to this. You posted that at 8:01, and here I am 26 minutes later answering. No, it is. It's more of a strategic and industrial metal. So here's my. This was a point I was going to make a long time ago, and I interrupted myself, which I tend to do. Is that about 27 cents per hour in national debt per citizen per hour? Wow, I don't know, but that doesn't surprise me because our what we owe as individuals is not funny. Per taxpayer, we owe $271,189 each to pay off the national debt. Now, that does not cover unfunded liabilities, which, of course, unfunded liabilities like, I don't know. Let's see. 102 trillion. So that's a lot. That's a lot. Let's see. U.S. debt held by other countries, 8.5 trillion. Trade deficit, 1.1 trillion. U.S. trade deficit with China is only $281 million. Oh boy, we're just kicking some butt, aren't we? Here it is. Unfunded liability, Social Security liability, Medicare liability, total 219 trillion. 964 billion 882 million. I can't read the rest because the numbers are changing literally too fast for me to read them. Well, I mean, right now, liability per citizen is the financial responsibility per citizen is $650,000 right now. Well, now I will say this. The states do have rights, and that's something that we need to remind all of our governors about. All of these states together have the exact same amount of power as the federal government, but they need to be united states. That's the problem, is they're not united. And right now, one by one, they're being tipped over to the left by immigration on purpose. Because the ones who are stealing from us are the ones who control the U.S. military. That's it. So, and of course, if your fastest path to citizenship as an illegal is to join the military, soon we will have an all volunteer military, which has absolutely zero ties to the United States or its citizens. They will be completely and totally beholden to the federal government. Think about that for a second. Right now, if you sent the Marine Corps to go invade and occupy Texas, that ain't going to happen, because about 40% of the United States Marine Corps is from Texas, and they are not. Nobody named Lopez is going to shoot anybody named Alvarado. That ain't going to happen. They're probably related, and they know it. What are you going to do? How are you going to send the Marine Corps? Now, if on the other hand, 10 years from now, the majority of the Marine Corps and the Army were people from other countries who got their citizenship by joining from other nations without any background checks whatsoever, because you can't do a background check on somebody from Venezuela, can you? What's your name? Jose, what's your last name? Alvarez. Okay, that's that. No, Western states are more in favor of illegal immigrants. No, not Western states. All states. I mean, any state that's a swing state, that's where they're being sent. Remember, a lot of these people, when they get here, they're bused to cities or they're taken to other cities where there are places for them to, like Springfield. Why were so many Somalis sent there? Well, just what the government decided to do. Oh, okay. And what are they doing there? Well, some of them are working their asses off. Tulane black drop. That's funny. No, actually, not at all. That's the battle cry of a soy boy right there. Oh, well, if you don't like the government's policies, you must be racist. Uh-huh. Sure. That's pretty sad. And by the way, if you think Kamala Harris isn't the best candidate, that makes you sexist and racist, even though she's not black at all, even a little bit. That's been proven. I mean, go on YouTube and see all of the dozens of stories about it, who her grandma is and what color she is. But you know what? It could still be called disinformation or misinformation, or here's my favorite, malinformation. Yeah, they've got that one now too. And what does it all mean? It all means we don't like what you're saying, so shut up or get kicked off. I give myself 10 minutes. I'm going to say I've got 10 minutes left before the AI realizes what I just said. Yeah, well, what Willie Brown said about Kamala Harris was not flattering. It was shocking. It was really shocking because she said, oh, he was like a mentor to me. He was great. He was this, he was that. And he was like, oh, she's can't say that word on here or I'll get kicked off for sure. But yeah, he did not say anything nice about her at all. Wow. Well, that's a hell of a mentor. I mean, come on. And the governor of California, who is about as left wing as you can get, he despises her. Joe Biden despises her. Her turnover rate for her own people in the White House was 92%. 92% of the people that worked for her quit their job. Do you understand what working for the vice president leads to? It leads to being around the president. It leads to being around all of the members of Congress and Senate. It leads to being in the Joint Chiefs of Staff meetings. If you're even slightly affable and slightly good at what you do, that could lead to hundreds of offers. But they quit their job and walked away instead. That's all you need to know right there. The way that you treat your staff is always going to be better than the way you treat complete strangers. Her bar friends don't despise her. Probably not. That's why I don't say much anymore. Yeah, well, because you will get kicked off for a week for sure. So before I get kicked off, buy some gold and silver from me. My prices are better than anybody else's. And the shit is literally hitting the fan now. That ying sound, that is fecal matter hitting the fan blades. Contact, we're in trouble. So, and all the numbers scream it. The funny part is there are people out there who really don't understand that. There are people who actually think that the economy is strong. And I can't unknow what I know about the real numbers. I can't pretend like when I try to understand where they're coming from, I can't. I just can't go back in time and become ignorant enough that I don't understand what I'm looking at. When I look at the headline job numbers, and then I look at the real job numbers that come out a month later, how am I supposed to not understand that that's on purpose and it's to lie and manipulate the American people? How am I supposed to not understand that? It's just simple math. It's simple common sense that if you're wrong about the labor statistics every single time, then you should be wrong to the upside 50% and to the downside 50%. But they're always off to the upside, and then they revise down later. And the last couple of revisions would have literally triggered a recession. They would have said, oh, yeah, we're in a recession. But they just didn't put those numbers out until a month later. And then they talked their way around them and explained how they actually did make jobs. It just wasn't what you thought. We thought it was going to be 144, and it's 254 this month. How many of those are government jobs? Oh, a lot. How many of those are native-born citizens? Because the statistics show that native-born citizens have lost jobs over the last 4 years. Lost jobs. We haven't gained a single job for native-born Americans. People not born in this country, however, have created 3.5 million jobs. How is that possible? Why are people that aren't citizens? Why are those people getting jobs at 8 times the rate that a native-born American is? Well, it's very, very simple. They'll do the job for less. But how do they survive in the United States? I mean, we do the job and we can barely survive. That's because the government doesn't pay for your cell phone, doesn't give you subsidies, doesn't give you a food card, doesn't give you a cell phone, doesn't give you a hotel to live in that they kicked veterans out of, disabled veterans. When people found out, like in New Jersey, that if you house a disabled veteran, you get $85 a night, standard rate. Well, guess what? If you house an illegal immigrant, it's $115. So what did all of the managers, who, by the way, are all foreigners, what did they do? Well, they did the only logical thing. They told all those Vietnam veterans and all those sissies that got wounded in Iraq to get the fuck out of their hotels. Put them out on the street. Literally wheeled some of them out into the street and said, good luck. Well, where do they go now? Next hotel down? Oh, no. They're not going to the next hotel. It's getting 115 for illegals, too. Priorities, man, priorities. We can send lots and lots of money to Ukraine and Israel, but we have to worry about North Carolina because FEMA's broke. Well, it was $12 billion was part of the FEMA thing last year. They actually added it onto Ukraine's money. But illegal immigrants don't get those benefits as citizens. No. Once they become citizens, they're on their own. That's why. That's why being an illegal immigrant is probably the way to go for the next couple of years. I mean, look, which of who Elon is. He is exactly who he says he is. He does what he says. There are a lot of people out there who do one thing and say another. He said, I'm going to build rockets. People said, no, you can't build rockets. Like Boeing owns that space. You're not going to compete with Lockheed. And he said, yeah, I can do that. Okay, well, he did. He literally did. He said, I'm going to build electric cars. People said, oh, man, electric cars are ugly. Nobody wants those things. He did it. I mean, this is a guy who goes out and does things. He built a robot. Next year, you will actually be able to buy his robots. And they will be able to make you breakfast. And they will be able to tutor your kids. And they are going to be less than $20,000. What? Yeah. This is a guy who will absolutely change the face of Earth forever. Well, that's the thing. I mean, how does Mississippi avoid it when they don't know where these people are coming? Like, there are people literally in these small towns where it's like all of a sudden, somebody like Tyson Foods says, hey, or Purdue or somebody says, hey, we're going to lay off 6,500 people at this factory. What? That's all 3 shifts. That's everybody. Yep. Sorry, guys. It's just economics. Wow, you're closing the factory. No, we're not closing the factory. We're just laying off all the Americans. I think that all aliens should be illegal, including the ones from other galaxies, unless, of course, they get a visa first or passport. Then they should come down here and talk to me first, because I'm very curious. I got a lot of questions. Absolutely. They do get tax credits for hiring people who are asylum seekers. It's just so rigged right now. It's just so rigged right now. It's unbelievable. It's really hard to fathom how bad it actually is. But Kamala Harris said on Friday that she is in way, Kamala Harris proved once again she's in way above her depth, telling the crowd that this election is packed with some stuff, and then laughing inanely. So when you think about what's at stake in this election, whoa, it's packed with some stuff. And then she broke into that weird laugh of hers. Packed with some stuff. It is literally like Idiocracy is true. See you soon. Uh-oh, battery might run out. What the hell did I do? I didn't plug in my phone before I started my live stream. All right. Well, let's what stuff? Yeah, apparently the cream filling that comes with every election, that soft creamy center like a Twinkie. I mean, I don't know what the hell she's talking about. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. How can you know if she doesn't know? Let's see. New York Times lies to downplay racist Kamala plagiarism scandal. So Chris Rufo brings receipts. Okay. What does this say? Conservative activist seizes on passages from Harris' book, her 2009 book on crime. A plagiarism expert said that the lapses were not serious. Oh, they weren't. Oh, wow. You got to be kidding me. What in the world is this about? Oh, no. I didn't even see this. Wow. She literally copied from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, word for word, paragraphs of it. Just copied it. Wow. What is, like, that's crazy. Yeah, in her 2009 book, about how awesome she is. She plagiarized 5 sections, including about 500 words. Let's see. Argued there are more than a dozen instances of vicious plagiarism. It's, of course, New York Times said it's not serious. Anytime you rip off another writer without giving them credit, it's serious. Anytime you steal from another person's intellectual property, since that is what makes the world go round, it's serious. Ask Vanilla Ice. Let's see here. Yeah, it's just word for word for word for word. Yeah. That's amazing. She didn't think anybody was going to catch that, huh? Well, they caught it, and now she's busted for it. Hey, it is what it is. That's the problem, is that these people who lie think that they're going to get away with it forever. It doesn't work that way in the digital world anymore. You will get caught eventually, and she just got busted for plagiarism. Now, of course, Joe Biden got busted for plagiarism over and over and over again, and lying over and over and over again. He still became president of the United States. And he actually had to go through, some votes. Like, he had to actually go through primaries, and he still won. No silver going to 40 or 50. Yes. I think you meant no. Silver going to 40 or 50. Yes, it is. Absolutely. No question in my mind. Let's see. And by the way, the reason that gold and silver will continue to skyrocket is because our monetary policy isn't. We don't have a monetary policy anymore. We literally have no monetary policy. Basically, it's, oh shit, print more money. there are times when oh shit actually does work as a strategy, not usually in games like chess or Go, and certainly not in the very, very complicated world of economic theory. About Peel's Trump case. No, the Ambler, what's that? The Ambler Mining District. Nice. That's a lot of silver. You missed. I did say it was going to go up for the last 3 years, and it's been going up for 3 years. She should have at least paraphrased it. That would have helped a lot. I think we're going to need that stuff for robotics, vehicles, etc. Yeah, but not in the same way that we needed it for cars in the 90s. Let's see. Gold is definitely it. Biden won't let us build a road to it. Oh, look at that. Diameses. Wow, that's a big name. I have 20 pounds of 0.800 AG gold coins. What's the value of the coins? Wow. Well, you're going to have to text me on that. That's going to take a while. Do you write any books? No, I read them every night, but I just don't have the patience to write one yet. I suppose one of these days when the testosterone poisoning wears off and I stop chasing girls and eating lots of red meat, then I'll probably sit down and write a book. But in the crypto is better than gold or silver. No, it's not. Nice try, but no, it's not. Right now, it's fantastic. And as soon as the grid goes down, it's nothing. It's ones and zeros that don't exist. And the capitalist elites, yeah, those fucking capitalists, man. Fuck those capitalists. Bad capitalists. You have a live bleeding over. Live bleeding over. Well, I'm live on YouTube as well, under Big and Corn Fed. Write a book without getting it banned or censored. Oh, absolutely. You love elites, elite models, yes, but I don't hate wealthy people, especially wealthy capitalists. Give you a perfect example: Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. What's there to hate? He earned all of his money. He does a service for the United States government, and everybody's like, oh, he gets government money. Yeah, guess what? He gets about 1/10 the government money that Boeing or Lockheed would be getting. So he's saving our tax dollars by the billions. And he's coming up with things like electric cars. They said, hey, we want electric cars. We want to save the environment. He said, okay, I can do that. Well, what's there to hate? He's a great guy. Have a good night. All right, man. Uh-oh. I hate him because of his lying politics. Lying politics. I'm glad they actually censored that stupid statement. They actually did censor that statement. His lying politics. What has he lied about? I'm trying to think what he's lied about. And most importantly, why? Why would he lie? He's already the wealthiest man in the history of the human race. What's he going to lie about? Yeah, Michael, you might want to elaborate on that. His lying politics. I'm just curious. How can you know if he's lying about what he thinks? Well, because if he doesn't agree with you, he's obviously lying, bastard. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. He didn't come up with the design or structure for the cars. The engineers did, didn't they? Oh, Jesus Christ. And who hired the engineers? Oh, those engineers, they actually would have gotten stuck in a tornado and all gotten thrown into the same warehouse together if it hadn't been for Elon Musk. It was inevitable that the Tesla would have been born. You're a meathead. You don't own a business. I'm sure he's an engineer. Have you ever heard him talk? The guy is insane to listen to. And, I actually watched him once. He was talking about an engineering problem that they were having with one of the rockets. And this kid who was on a tour walking around said, well, how come you don't do this? And he was like, well, and he just stood there thinking about it for a minute. He said, that is a very good idea. We're going to test that. I think that might work. That actually might be exactly what we need. And I thought to myself, look at that. A guy who's got probably more right to be egotistical than anyone else in the world. He is the fucking richest man on earth, but he's not egotistical. He heard a kid who was on a tour say something about one of their rockets and how to get fuel into it more efficiently, and said, yeah, you know what, that might work. And it's like, all right, that's cool. All the big truck are a failure. Head engineer at Space. Well, he is head engineer at SpaceX. But his actual title, you know what? I'd have to Google that because it's actually funny as hell. My title at howtube.com is Overlord. It's what it says on my business cards. I am the overlord of howtube.com. Elon Musk's actual title at, okay. AI, you're totally wrong. Nope. And why he has so many titles. He's a chief engineer. Techno King. Elon Musk, CEO, is made up title, prefers Tesla Techno King. That's what he calls himself at work. He's the Techno King. How's that for funny? Yeah, he's a sharp cat. Let's face it. He's a sharp guy. And, when a guy with that much drive runs into something like PayPal, where he gets an enormous amount of money, you can do a lot of good with a lot of money. You can do all kinds of crazy things. So that's what he did. A lot of guys buy an island and go molest people. That's a really bad idea. He decided he was going to build rockets and go to Mars. And he said that he wanted to die on Mars. And then he laughed and said, hopefully not on impact, which I thought was pretty funny. He wants to go to Mars. That's his goal. So I wouldn't put it past him. That's a fact. I would not bet against Elon Musk anymore. Does he really have 12 kids? They censored that. They censored that comment, Teresa. Why would they censor that? And he does actually have 10 or 12 kids. Elon Musk's kids. There we go. Meet his 12 children and their mothers. Yeah, he does. He also has the Boring Company. Exactly. Is he trying to take us to Mars too? Yes. Not to. NASA's not trying to go to Mars. NASA's trying to get out of their own fucking way right now. Handyman King. I like it. I like Overlord. I started out at HowTube as Overlord of Marketing. And then I realized that all of the best ideas were mine. So fuck it. I'm now the Overlord. And my co-founder said, okay. Actually, what he said was that you're being silly. And I said, okay, you think I'm being silly? And he said, yeah. And I said, all right, well, I'll tell you what. I'm standing right now in a print shop getting ready to make the cards. And you want me to put director of fucking marketing? That's what you want me to put on there? And he goes, yeah. And I said, okay, I'm going to put you on speakerphone. And I said, hey, can you guys all come over here? And I said, they're all walking over here now. And all the employees walked over and they were all, millennials and Generation Z. And I said, listen, guys, what sounds better to you? Director of marketing or overlord of marketing? And they all started laughing. And they said, oh man, overlord, that's cool. And I said, it's cool, right? And they were like, definitely. And I said, Mike, you're too fucking old for this industry and you just don't realize it. Like, cool is king. So start working on being cooler because you're stuck, dude. And yeah, he's Generation X, but he's kind of a mellow existentialist kind of, Generation X. I am not. So yeah. Orange Man good. Do you respect him more than Bezos? Of course I do. Bezos treats his employees like shit. Elon Musk drives his employees very, very hard, but he doesn't treat them like shit. He just expects a lot from them. But telling you that you're on the bubble of being fired because you took another bathroom break. Come on, man. I mean, I get it. Like, Amazon would be the perfect company for me to go to work for. If I was 20 years old, I'd fucking tear that company a new asshole because I'd go to work there and I would run all fucking day. And all the employees would be like, why is that kiss ass dick bastard dead? Why is he always trying to kiss up to the boss? I wouldn't. I would just outwork them 10-1. And literally the boss would have no choice when he got promoted to put me in his position. I would just be the most obvious choice. And then when I got promoted, I'd put the hardest working guy in my place and I would take my boss's old job. And that's how you climb the company ladder. Common sense. Work your ass off. Work harder than anybody else all the time. And you will climb the company ladder unless you're just an idiot and you are, I'll give you an example. Let's say that you're actually really smart, but you're horribly, horribly shy. You're incredibly introverted. Now, there's a good chance you will never climb the company ladder. People will use you as a stepping stone all the time. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just the way it is. Well, unless you're Kamala. She has skills I don't have. Or at least I don't want. But, that's the reality. When Trump was asked way back in the 90s, if you lost it all, what would you do? David Letterman asked him, said, what would you do? And he said, I'd start an Amway. And, obviously David Letterman was laughing. He was like, what? He goes, yeah, no, I'm serious. I would join Amway. He was like, that's a multi-level marketing thing, right? And he goes, absolutely. He goes, with my work ethic and my ability to persuade people, yeah, I would join Amway and I would get all my money back very quickly. And I thought, yeah, he's suited for that. He's a showman. He can stand up in front of 100 people every night and do his shtick and get them involved. So it's different things for different people. But the reality is this: if you work your ass off and you make sure that you do it with a great attitude and not just, oh, fuck it, I got to be here, I may as well work hard. No. Work hard, learn what your boss likes and doesn't like to hear. Okay. He's not really a con man. He's a showman, and there's a difference. I mean, he's a guy who will, he will produce. He did exactly what he said he was going to do in spite of all the headwinds. He did all the shit he said he was going to do when he became president. He started to build a wall. He went with tariffs against China. He did a lot of shit that I thought was just fluff. He rips people off too. Okay? Like what? He rips people off. Like he just got fined $412 million for lying to a bank and then paying them back with interest every dime he owed them. How'd he rip them off? He did lie to them, yeah. That's the point. Is if he lied to them and said that his assets were worth a certain amount, you see, that's the problem. You're saying, come on, buddy, I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know. I thought I knew back when I was watching MSNBC, but the more I find out about Donald Trump, the more I realize, like, this guy hasn't done a tenth of the shit they accuse him of. What about the Russia tapes? What about the P tapes? What about all that? It's all bullshit. By the way, Jeff Bircher, overturned. That was censored. But let's take a look, because I think I saw something about that. Let's go up here and find out what did happen today with that court case. Kamala's poll numbers are crashing and Dems are in panic. Well, they should be. They really, really should be. Let's see here. Almost 90% of voters want CBS to release deceptively edited Kamala Harris interview. Why not release all the footage too? Oh, that's not going to end well for her, is it? Wow, can you imagine if all the B-roll, everything, they just released all of it? My God. You'd really be able to see what an ass she really is. By the way, I didn't believe this the first time I heard it, but I know somebody who worked on Air Force Two when Joe Biden was vice president, and the understanding was that this person could never be identified under any circumstances, which I understand. And he said, if you heard the shit that came out of this guy's mouth, you would never vote for him for any office again. I was like, goofy stories, but he seems like a good guy. And he was like, you have no idea. I was like, fuck, come on, he's got to be exaggerating. Well, guess what? I believe him now. The outlook to be overturned is good. That actually makes sense. Last 10 elections accurately. Well, he's due for a screw up. He's very friendly with children. You gotta respect that, right? He's just got a natural love of little children. He's mean. He's not mean to little children. He's very handsy and very, 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 very aggressive. I mean that in the best way possible, if there is a good way possible. Anyway, let's see. Russia says Ukraine kidnapped over 1,000 Kursk residents and seeks their whereabouts. Ooh. Well, that's not going to be pretty. Oh, look at this. Quid pro quo revealed. Netanyahu vows not to strike Iranian oil or nuclear targets if we give him advanced missile systems to defend himself. Putin is better than what most think. Do you also think? Yes, absolutely. There's no question. It's just complete disinformation about Putin. Just watch his interviews. Literally, just watch his interviews, watch his speeches, watch when he sits down and talks for 4 hours. I know it's boring, but it's probably the most important thing we can do as Americans, because we're trying to start World War III with this guy. We should know that, what he really is like. And let me tell you something. You take every member of Congress combined, and they're not as smart as that guy. And that's scary, because we are just kicking the shit out of him in every way we possibly can, except putting boots on the ground. That's not going to last forever. He's not going to put up with that. Pizza God. First problem is you identify as God on your TikTok, so you're obviously an arrogant person. They censored that, by the way, Daniel. That's apparently that wasn't very nice. So, is he not a dictator like Kamala said? Of course not. They have elections. Are their elections rigged? How the fuck do I know? Are our elections rigged? How the fuck do I know? That's the whole point of rigging an election, so you don't get caught. So, is he popular? Well, right now, if you do polls in Russia, 85% of the people in Russia support him. That's the highest it's ever been. It's higher than any president in history. George Bush didn't even get to 85% right after 9/11. I mean, holy shit, this guy is hugely popular with Russians. So, everybody's like, oh, the people hate him because, they want to overthrow him because he invaded another country for no reason. Why did he go into Ukraine? Well, he told everybody in his own country why. Especially with Ukraine. No, you don't understand. Especially because of Ukraine. The people in Russia understand why they went into Ukraine. It was because there were Ukrainians that were killing ethnic Russian civilians, women, children, old people, in cold blood, thousands of them. It's public record. Go back and look. 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. Places like the United Nations were saying that it was bordering on a genocide. Well, what genocide? What? Who? What are you talking about? What genocide? Oh, the Ukrainians killing Russians in Ukraine because of what happened during World War II. They still hate Russians to this day. And Ukrainians will refuse to speak Russian. They hate the Russians. So they were trying to drive them out of the country that they were born and raised in. So Putin said, look, I won't allow it anymore. After he'd signed a deal that Zelensky ignored, after he went through the World Court and was ignored, after he said, if this doesn't stop, I will have to take action, he was ignored. And then finally, Biden said right before this happened, well, if it's a full-on invasion of Ukraine, that's one thing. But if it's just a military action, like he says it is, specifically in these areas to protect the Russian, ethnic Russian people, yeah, that's different. I saw that with my own eyes on CNN. That's not bullshit. It's not misinformation. I saw him say that from the podium at the White House. And within hours, all of his people were like, no, hold on. That's not what he meant. That's what he fucking said. Well, if you're the president of the United States and you say something, by God, you better mean it. Because theoretically, you're the sharpest fucking tack in the whole box. No, I'm saying that not all of Ukraine, but I'm saying that the Ukrainians of the Azov Battalion, have you ever heard of the Azov Battalion? The Azov Battalion, the guys who worship the Nationalist German Party of the 30s, who wear their symbols, who salute like they did, who worship all of their leaders. Yeah, those guys were killing ethnic Russians. And so Putin went to Zelensky and said, look, you got to help me stop this. And Zelensky said, yeah, I got this. If you were part of the nationalist movement in Germany in the 30s and your president were Jewish, how would that make you feel? Just curious. How would that make you feel? Would you listen to him? Would you respect him? Because that's exactly the situation. The Azov Battalion doesn't give a shit what Zelensky says. And they kept on killing ethnic Russians. They were trying to drive them out of the Donbass region. This, by the way, is all public record. The fact that everybody in the United States forgot all of this shit 3 weeks after this war started was mind-blowing. It really showed me how fucking stupid Americans can be. It's absolutely mind-blowing that they didn't realize that, wait a minute, a month ago, the Ukrainians were the bad guys. And now somebody stepped in to stop them. Oh, but it's Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. Okay, so now we've got a reason to go to war with Russia. Well, why do we want to go to war with Russia? Well, we don't. Did you say waste money? Oh, hold on. Hold on. They're not wasting money. You don't know who's in charge of the United States of America, do you? They're not wasting money. They're spending tax money wisely on weapons. And where does that money go? Do you think we sent $175 million to Ukraine? We sent $175 million to Martin Marietta and Lockheed and Boeing and Raytheon. That money never left this fucking country. All that tax money that was for Ukraine, it never left. It stayed right here in the 1%'s pocket. What we did send were guns and bombs. This is a scam, and it's the biggest scam ever. Billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, there are two types of assets. And because of that, there are two types of debt. You have an asset that will create what's called hold on, I had it a second ago. Self-liquidating debt, and then you have assets that will not create self-liquidating debt. They will actually just become debt, period. I'll give you an example. You own a restaurant. You seat 30 people. You're packed every day. Every fucking day of the week, you're packed. God bless you. You must make some good food or coffee or whatever. Because of this, you realize that empty lot next to your building, since it's already for sale and it's dirt cheap because it's just dirt, you go to the bank and you say, listen, I'd like to borrow $200,000. And they say, oh, that's a pretty good chunk of money. What's it for? And you say, well, I'm going to build an outside patio that runs the whole length of my building all the way to the back alley. And then I'm going to put basically a roof over it. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous, and it's going to help me seat another 80 people. And they go, okay, what's your net income now? And you explain to them what your rent, what your net is, or your mortgage and your net and everything else. And they go, you have a waiting list every day. You go all day, every day. So if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have a waiting list. You're like, well, I probably would, but it wouldn't be as bad. They say, okay, fuck it. Let's do this. You just took on a huge amount of debt, man. Could be $250,000. You're going to build a fucking deck? But it's not just a deck, is it? It's more seating capacity for people who want to give you their money. Oh, I love capitalism. So they give you their money, and you give them the coffee or the food or whatever that they want so much, and a cool atmosphere too. How long does it take for that debt to pay itself off now that you can seat 100 people instead of 20? Not long at all, baby. As long as your kitchen can keep up, you're going to be cranking. And that debt will liquidate itself like that. 3, 5, maybe 10 years tops. And then it's all gravy, baby. It's all gravy. What's non-liquidating debt? Well, non-self-liquidating debt is something like a bomb. I spent $200,000 or $2 million on a cruise missile. 200, actually, I believe I want to say it's $230,000 per cruise missile. And I launch it. And all right, well, that's it. 230 grand gone. Better go get another 230 grand if I want another cruise missile. How'd that pay for itself? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't pay for itself. It's just more debt. Buy 100 of them, fire them all off. Okay. Well, now you spent what? $23 million. And guess what? They're all gone. Go make more. That's the problem, is that when we keep giving money to Ukraine, we're not giving money to Ukraine. We're giving money to the military industrial complex that runs this country so tightly. And they're like this with the oil companies and like this with all of our intelligence agencies. because they all serve each other's purposes. And what about us down here? We say, hey, government. The government's like, we'd like to help, but can we help? No? Okay. No, we can't help. They're stuck in the middle. They're stuck in the middle. BlackRock's a great example. BlackRock doesn't have a pot to piss in. They don't own shit. But guess what? They control $10 trillion. Wait, if it's not theirs, whose is it? It's yours. It's mine. It's everybody's. If you have a pension fund, if you have a 401k, if you have a municipal pension fund of some kind, it's probably invested with BlackRock. And what does BlackRock do? Well, they buy up 88 different companies that are all very important. And then they buy up a bunch of State Street, and then State Street buys a bunch of BlackRock. And then Vanguard buys a bunch of them. And then back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And they all buy each other's stuff. So you can't figure out who exactly owns how much of what. But everybody owns a piece of somebody. And it's all your money. They're playing with your money. So, of course, since they have so much of your money, they get to vote on what the companies do on your behalf. Now, if you have a pension fund and you haven't gotten anything from Larry Fink lately, the CEO of BlackRock, saying, hey, I was kind of curious, how would you like me to proceed? Well, that's because they don't give a shit what you think. They're using your money, and their attitude, as long as we make you a safe few percent, kiss off. You're lucky we're here. That's exactly how this country works right now. And the government serves them. And Greg, they censored that. I can see it. It says pretty big scam too, but nobody else can see that. I know, it's sad, right? It sucks. It sucks when they censor you guys. Oh, by the way, like and subscribe. Jesus, I always forget to say that. If you subscribe, that helps a lot. I'm trying to get to 119,000. I've been at 118,000 for over a year, ever since I started talking about things that the algorithms got pissed about. They were like, no. We're not promoting your videos anymore. I went from getting you'll see some of my videos get over 1 million views early on. And now all of a sudden it's like 3,000, 4,000. It's like, what happened? Well, TikTok changed hands. It's not the Chinese spying on us anymore. It's the Americans censoring us. And personally, I'd rather have somebody spying on me. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck what they think. Look, if China wants to spy on me, here's how I feel about that. What do you want to know? What do you want to know? Look, China, what do you want to know? Yeah, we're a bunch of fuck-ups over here. We drink too much. We're fat. We're lazy. We all think that we're fucking princesses and princes, and we deserve more than we could ever possibly want or need. And we always confuse need with want. If we want it, then fuck, we need it because we're Americans. We're the most spoiled fucking people in the history of humanity. But don't piss us off. That's all. We'll let you steal our technology, and we'll let you steal our tax money, and we'll let you do all kinds of fucking around, but you don't want to find out. So just leave it there. And okay, great. That's it. That's what they're going to find out about us. So they want to know how much gold you have. Oh, that's, enough. And that's the point, is that nobody talks about that on here. Nobody comes on and says, hey, I got 10 ounces of gold today. That brings my total to whatever. So bottom line is, them spying on me never bothered me, because what they're doing is they're listening to us to try to understand us. Why? Why are they trying to understand us? Well, number one, we're their biggest trading partner. That's probably one good reason. What do we want? What's the hot topic? What's the thing that all Americans are saying about them even? But to switch from spying to censorship, now that it's part of the Texas Project and Larry Ellison is in charge. Larry Ellison, the guy who created Oracle. And from what the paperwork says, he had some help from a 3-letter agency. Yeah, he's very into biometrics and internet security and fingerprinting and facial recognition software. He's a real security guy. And now he's in charge of the Texas Project, which has all of the source code for TikTok. So TikTok is now no longer spying, they're censoring. That's why I get kicked off here all the time, and I never used to. Never. In the first 2 years, I got kicked off once. Yeah. Then the problem is I got kicked off because I said something about China. They want to take us over. I don't know about that, man. The Chinese do not understand us very well. Do you believe North Carolina got destroyed because of the resources underneath? No, not at all. Oh, I got kicked off because I talked about how China fucked up with back in the 50s, how they basically created on accident. They created a famine that killed between 50 and 55 million Chinese people, civilians, in 1-2 years, and it was just an accident. You know, a law of unintended consequences. Really, they were looking at their crop harvest, and they were satisfied with the crop harvest, but they also realized they were losing a lot of crops to just different kinds of pests, pack rats, mice, gophers, all of these little rodents and whatnot. So they put out a mandate. It was actually pretty cool. They put out a mandate and they said, look, if you are a good Communist Party member in China, then this is what you will help us do. You will kill any pests that you can find, all of them. Make it a daily thing. Of course, rabbits were not a problem because to this day people still eat those. So, but the Chinese people at the time were very loyal, and they said, "Okay, let's do it." So 500 million Chinese, which is about what there was back then, decided to go out and kill all the varmints, all the vermin, everything. Just wipe them out. And they did. They fucked some rats up. They got rid of all the mice. No gophers, no groundhogs, no nothing. Prairie dogs, nothing. They wiped out every kind of pest. Chinese leadership was very excited about that, by the way, to see just how gung-ho their people were to be good Communist Party members. So they said, by the way, we did notice something else. We underestimated the amount of grain that sparrows eat. Who knew? But each one of those sparrows can eat up to 4 ounces of grain a day. So we got to put sparrows on the list. We know they're cute birds, but they got to go. They got to go. So 500 million Chinese set to getting rid of all of the little birdies that they could. And they did. No, I just love history. I've studied it my whole life. It's something that really interests me. So they got rid of all of the sparrows because they eat grain. Do you know what else sparrows eat? A lot of locusts. Yeah. They got rid of all the locusts. They got rid of all of the sparrows, and the locusts descended on their crops the next year in waves that they could not believe. The old farmers still talk to this day about how the sky would turn black, and these things would come and they would land in their field, and within an hour they would take off and there would be nothing standing above the ground. Nothing, not a single stick left. So because of that, yeah, that was under Mao. And it was just completely unintended. They were just trying to make sure that their crops yield as much as possible. But they forgot that there's one thing that you can never, ever, ever do, and that is play God. God plays God pretty well, I'd say. He doesn't roll dice. He doesn't make mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. But yeah, when man plays God, it always turns out to be quite the folly. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but they estimate about 50 million people died over the next year and a half because of the famine that created. And believe me, these were not peaceful in the middle of the night, fall asleep and don't wake up, old people passing away. These were children mostly and elderly, and it was absolutely horrific. 1951, 52. Let me check. I'll make sure I get that right, because if you're going to look it up, Great Chinese Famine. 59 to 61, I'm sorry. And they say between 15 and 55 million. Of course, a lot of these people were born with no birth records. We had no idea. It's like the Spanish flu of 1918. How many people died? Fuck, who had birth certificates back then? I mean, in the United States, it was pretty common, but not a guarantee. In places like Russia, the government didn't even know how many children you had. So, yeah, that kind of suffering. That's the problem. Is imagine 50 million people in some place the size of, like, I'm going to say, if I had to look, okay, let's see. We've got China right here, and then we've got the United States. Yeah. Imagine 50 million people dying in the United States. No more than the United States and Canada, but 50 million. That's huge. And it was an accident. Nobody wanted to kill those people. Obviously, the last thing that you want to do is revoke your mandate from heaven. And by the way, for the Chinese people, that is an extremely important thing, the mandate of heaven. The mandate of heaven says that if you handle a famine or a natural catastrophe or crisis badly as the government, then you have obviously lost your mandate from heaven. God has literally revoked your mandate to rule over the people. And the shit that happens next is never, ever fun. It is fucking brutal, because the Chinese people do not put up with that shit. And so it's funny, because you look at the mandate of heaven now and you see, like, Katrina. What did FEMA do? They failed completely and utterly in every capacity. COVID. Yeah, they failed completely and utterly in every capacity. Helene. They failed completely and utterly in every capacity. What are we doing? Whose fault is this? It's yours. It's mine. It's our fault, because we're not angry enough yet to do something about it. But FEMA is part of the Department of Homeland Security. How are they making our homeland more secure? Mayorkas said that they're broke. How can they be broke? We gave them $12 billion last year. What did they spend it on? You know what they spent it on. You know exactly what they spent it on. Do I have to say it? You guys I know I got some smart damn TikTokers. Go ahead, throw it out there. You know what they spent that $12 billion on. Why they don't have any money for North Carolina. North Korea, oof. Illegals. Yeah, beer, I wish. Ukraine, yes. Gaza, yes. And illegals, that's right. And by the way, they don't call them illegals. They call them asylum seekers. And it says, and by the way, this is one of the funny things, Jean-Pierre, whatever her name is, Karine, whatever, the White House spokesperson said that FEMA absolutely does not give money to immigrants, period. And then I watched a clip of her a year ago, and what she said was that all state and local municipalities can, upon request, receive money from FEMA to help with migrant asylum seekers. What? Wait, you said that you never said that, but there you are saying that. Was that a different Karine Jean-Pierre? No, I recognized her. Standing at the podium, yep. Says White House on the seal, yep. Makes you wonder, I get kicked off for misinformation, and she's allowed to literally stand there and lie from the podium, representing the President of the United States of America. And she can look right into the camera and tell a lie, and she knows she's lying. She didn't forget that she held that other press conference last year. I don't know where they would use a DOD authorized use of deadly force against Americans. Where? Where are they going to shoot other Americans? Well, the good news is, Greg, I don't want to be in that club. That's what she gets paid to do. That got censored, by the way, Bob. You got censored. In America? No, absolutely not. There's no fucking way. Posse comitatus, baby. You can't have American soldiers killing 1 million American civilians. There's just no way. How do you define illegal? How to tell if they're actually asylum seekers? Well, I can tell you this. If 18 million of them are asylum seekers, that's a lot of asylum. That's a lot of asylum. The border has been an issue for years. We choose the atrocities when convenient. Yeah, but it's a bigger issue now than it has been for years. And I like what Clinton said. We're absolutely not in that club. That's okay. Waco, yeah. You agree with mass deportation? We have to. We can't let these people who were brought in by the Democrats, who know that the Democratic Party is their mommy and daddy. How do we allow them to stay in the country and vote? You've just gerrymandered every single swing state in the United States. They've already done it. They've already been moved to swing states where the vote is very close. Now, most of them can't vote yet, but because they're fast-tracked as asylum seekers for American citizenship, they will be able to vote within 5 years of getting here. So this election is the last election where 18 million people won't be able to swing the vote towards the Democrats. Imagine adding 18 million loyal people. Well, Jeff, we can't talk about that on TikTok. Nope, can't talk about that at all on TikTok. Those people are incredibly protected. Is political instability and war, cartel violence. Yep, that's bullshit. Total bullshit. That's absolutely stupid. You are literally telling people that, oh, it's not their fault. Really? Tell me about the 300,000 plus Chinese men that have come here. Fighting age males. How do you walk out of China? I don't like this place. It's a dictatorship. I'm going to America. I'm just going to walk right across to Taiwan. Oh, fuck, that's right. It's an ocean. I'm going to walk to North Korea. Shit, no, that won't work. I'm going to walk over to, no, it's all fucking razor wire. Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a flight to Panama. Oh, and the Chinese government's not going to ask you why you're going to Panama? What business do you have there? Well, I don't really have any business. I just wanted to go there on vacation. You wanted to go to Panama on vacation. Yeah, I understand it's beautiful this time of year. And then 300,000 of your friends are going to go with you. It's an invasion, and that's obvious. Melania lied to get into the U.S., so should she be deported? Is she already a citizen? I'm pretty sure Thomas Jefferson had slaves. Should we say that he wasn't the president anymore? People like you always want to look back, don't you? You always want to drive in the rearview mirror. You know what ends up happening when you spend all of your days driving in the rearview mirror? You run into something really hard. Stop talking about, well, this other person did it when 10 years ago, 15 years, and 30 years ago, this happened. Okay, what about tomorrow when you don't get to vote? What about tomorrow when you are no longer the person who's popular with the government who is all controlling? Well, now, Jeff, you got yourself canceled there, buddy. They literally censored that. Yeah, the bottom line is any immigrant that wants to come here and contribute to this society, God bless you. Come on over. Mexicans, fucking love them. I absolutely love Mexicans. You notice there aren't any Mexican asylum seekers, though. You know why? Do any of you know why? Because when you are an asylum seeker and the United States government recognizes you as an asylum seeker, your country is recognized as a terrorist state. Imagine if we took people from Mexico and said, oh, you can seek asylum in the United States. We would literally be calling our largest trading partner a terrorist nation. How do you think that'd work out for us? So all the people that we want can't come here and lie and claim asylum, even though I'd be fine with that. Look, I have lived and worked among Mexicans my entire life. I grew up in Southern California, Arizona, and I worked in Florida. And everywhere I went, some of the hard, oh, by the way, I was in the Marine Corps, which is a huge amount of Hispanics in it. And you know what I came to understand about Hispanics? They are exactly the American dream. They are the American dream. What do they want? Work hard, play hard, have big families, have a nice house, have all their family come over on Sundays and have big meals, watch sports. Yeah, I know soccer's fucking weird, and that's the only thing about them that makes me think they might be from an alien planet. But other than that, okay, and the oompa 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 music is a little weird too. But other than that, Mexicans are awesome people, and I love them. So, what's the problem? Let's let them in. No, no, no. We want people from Somalia. I see a face. What's up, Bo? I see my son's face. He's peeking at me around the corner. What time is it? What are you up still? Yeah, you're allowed to be up. Just don't tell your mom I said that. Okay.
Might be on the live stream.
Mm-hmm. No, that's one thing I do know. My ex-wife is not ever on my live stream. She wouldn't listen to me when we were married. Why the hell would she listen to me now?
Fair.
See? Good point. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, all right. Well, I'm going to go tuck him in. I have a rule. I almost always, who rules TikTok now? The Texas Project. Texas Project by Larry Ellison of Oracle, who's still their chief technology officer to this day, and one of the richest men in the world, and very, very into cybersecurity issues. I make it a rule to almost every night sing to my son. No, Larry Ellison. Don't know what Larry Ellison is. Larry Ellison is deep state. So he does whatever he wants. Who wins the election? That's a close one. You know, I may not like Donald Trump as a person, but I don't have a choice. That's it. Well, 11. I mean, he's 11 and he's taller than most grown-ups now, so he's not exactly little. You know, he's 5'7". So, who cheats best? That's funny. Let's see. I'm not a singer, but I do sing sometimes, mostly in the shower. I've seen posts, filing tax exempt. I think polling methods are as effective as our border policy. That's probably true. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. It was a blast. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock, I'll be here. Let's talk about econ and figure out what the hell's going on in the world. Yes, and by the way, for the people who are on here on my live stream, I'm allowed to say all kinds of shit that I'm not allowed to say on that one. So I'm going to do a live stream tomorrow before my live stream here, and then also at the same time. But I'm also going to do some special videos for YouTube that I'm just not allowed to say on there. I mean, I just can't. So I will see you guys tomorrow.